You've been asking for signs, begging for clarity, waiting on wealth, while wealth waits on you. The sun rises each morning, not because it's asked to, but because it obeys, and the wealth you're hoping for is no different. It does not come to the wishful. It does not favour the hesitant. It arrives only to the obedient, especially the ones who obey early, before it makes sense, before it feels certain, before the evidence arrives, because obedience isn't about knowing. It's about trusting the invisible instruction long before it becomes physical proof. There is a law, a divine law, that rewards quick alignment, swift decision, and sacred surrender in the very first light of day. Not just the one who obeys eventually, but the one who obeys immediately, at dawn. This is the secret most never discover, not because it's hidden, but because it's too quiet, too soft for the noisy mind to hear. But you feel it, don't you? A pull in the early hours, a whisper as you wake, a sacred directive that doesn't shout, but nudges, invites, instructs. That is the voice you must obey. That is the timing wealth listens to, before the distractions flood in, before the world teaches fear, before doubt disguises itself as logic. You were never meant to delay divine instruction. You were meant to respond with faith, not with fear. There is no such thing as late when it comes to divine timing, but there is such a thing as delayed receiving, and that's what doubt does. It delays. If you've ever wondered why wealth seems to pass you by, why others receive while you wait, it's not because you're undeserving, it's because you're undecided. The obedient don't wait for signs, they become the sign. They hear a whisper, and they move. They speak the affirmation before the result. They tithe before the windfall. They thank before it arrives, because they know. The universe doesn't reward the one who asks the most. It rewards the one who responds the fastest. Quick obedience is a wealth magnet, and those who move with it, especially in the early hours, become impossible to ignore. Right now, I want you to say this aloud with me. I obey divine instruction quickly, completely, and without resistance. Say it again. Let your body hear it. Let your cells catch it. I obey divine instruction quickly, completely, and without resistance. And now, watch how fast the doors begin to open. If this already shifted something inside you, then this is your moment to obey again. Subscribe now, not because I told you to, but because your spirit already knows this space is aligned with your next season. And if you've ever delayed a spiritual instruction and paid the price for it, tell me in the comments. Your story might. There is a moment, barely visible to the eye, but radiant to the soul, where the universe leans in. It listens, it watches, it waits to see what you'll do with what you already know. Not what you've been taught, not what you've been told, but what your inner knowing has whispered over and over again while you were busy collecting more advice. You didn't need more signs. You needed more surrender, because every delay you've experienced was not a punishment. It was a test to see, would you obey when it was inconvenient? Would you align when it was uncomfortable? Would you move when it still felt messy? The obedient do not wait until the path is clear. They become the clarity. They do not wait for confirmation. They are the confirmation. They rise before the world wakes. They speak abundance while others grumble. They affirm truth while others rehearse lack. And that is why the wealth flows to them, while others keep searching for the missing piece. But the missing piece was never information. It was obedience. You already knew what to do. You already heard the call. You already felt the nudge. But did you move? You see, the divine doesn't reward delay. It rewards immediacy. And here's the secret most never realize. Obedience isn't just a spiritual principle, it's a wealth frequency. It's a resonance that tells the universe, I'm ready now, not later. I'm available now, not when it's easy. I trust now, not just when I'm sure. The ones who get the breakthrough, the ones who receive the inheritance, the ones who get the phone call, the email, the open door at just the right moment. They are not the most qualified. They are not the most prepared. They are the most obedient. Even the ancient prophets knew this. Even the wealthiest spiritual teachers taught this. And still, most modern minds resist it. They wait. They ponder. They hesitate. They think, when I have more clarity, I'll obey. When I have more money, I'll tithe. When I feel more secure, I'll take the leap. But obedience doesn't wait for security. It creates security because it places trust where it belongs, in the source, not the circumstance. Say this now, if your spirit agrees. I no longer delay divine instruction. I move in alignment. I obey early, and wealth flows to me because of it. Breathe it in. Let it sit. Let it anchor. That's not just a sentence. That's a signal. You've just told the universe you're ready to collapse time. You're ready to obey when it's still dark out. You're ready to say yes before it looks like a yes is safe. And that's where the blessing begins. If you're nodding right now, if something in your chest feels like it's cracking open, that's not emotion. That's release. That's years of delay leaving your body. That's years of waiting, dissolving in the heat of your now surrendered will. This is your awakening. This is your dawn. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your sign. Obey the nudge. Click the button. Stay connected to this space. Because it's not just content, it's alignment. And when you're in alignment, wealth obeys you. There is a rhythm to the universe, a rhythm that doesn't begin at noon. It begins in the hush, before the world stirs. And those who attune to it, those who obey early, tap into something ancient, something divine, something the rest of the world misses. While others scroll, the obedient speak. While others snooze, the obedient surrender. While others plan, the obedient act. And wealth? Wealth is not indifferent to this. Wealth follows direction. It flows to energy that moves first. Not because it's perfect, but because it's postured. You don't have to know every step, but you do have to step. That's divine law. The door that opens is the one approached in faith. Now, let me speak directly to the doubt in your spirit. You think you've tried everything. You think obedience is just another word for control. You think your delay is justified, but it's not. It's costing you more than money. It's costing you your peace. Because somewhere deep inside, you already knew what your next move was. You were just waiting for approval. But wealth doesn't come to the approved. It comes to the obedient. The command was simple. Rise, write, speak, give, leave. Building begin. And the moment you delayed, the moment you asked for just one more sign, you stepped out of alignment and wondered why money paused. It paused because you paused. But here's the miracle. You can realign instantly. You can say yes again, now. You can obey again, now. And the moment you do, the channels reopen. That's why spiritual obedience is the fastest wealth activator in existence, not because it pleases some angry God, but because it syncs you with perfect timing, the obedient move while others wait, and so they arrive when others are still figuring it out. That's the difference between living by reaction and living by revelation. And friend, you were meant to live by revelation. Say this now with conviction. I act when called. I move when nudged. I obey without delay, and wealth follows me, early, easily, and endlessly. Feel the shift. That's the power of a spoken decree, not a whisper, not a wish, a decree. You are no longer a seeker, you are an activator. And the money, the opportunity, the next open door, they are already responding. If this resonates, comment below and speak it into the world. Say, I obey early, and abundance knows my name. And if this space is awakening something in you, subscribe now. Not because you need another video, but because you're building a new environment, an ecosystem of wealth, faith, and immediate alignment. Obedience at dawn sets the tone for destiny. There is a silence in the early hours that holds answers the world shouts over, when the mind is not yet crowded, when the sun has not yet climbed, when the noise of opinion hasn't invaded. Spirit speaks, and the ones who rise early, not just physically, but spiritually, they hear it. They hear what to say, what not to do, what to release, what to build, where to walk, and most importantly, when. Because timing is the hidden currency of wealth. There are people with less skill than you, less talent, less experience, but they obeyed when the moment opened. They said yes when others said not yet. And the gates of wealth swung wide, not because they knew more, but because they obeyed faster. If you feel behind, if you're comparing your delay to someone else's leap, you can stop now. You're not late. You just paused when you were supposed to say yes, but your moment is still waiting, quietly, patiently, on the other side of your obedience. Say this with me now. I forgive my hesitation. I release the fear of being too late. I am ready now. I obey now. Let the shame go. Shame delays. Spirit moves, and spirit is ready. You don't need another sign. You don't need 10 confirmations. You don't need someone else to believe in your calling before you respond to it. You just need obedience. Early obedience, prompt obedience, wholehearted obedience. And the universe responds. This is the law too many spiritual people skip. Obedience is alignment, and alignment unlocks speed. People keep asking, how do I attract wealth faster? But that's the wrong question. The question is, how fast do you obey what you've already been shown? The rest will come. It has no choice. Because when you obey early, you move into momentum. You tap into what most people never experience, divine acceleration. Things begin to happen at once. Opportunities converge, connections form, ideas drop in, favor multiplies, and it feels like a miracle, but it was always available. The key wasn't in the waiting, it was in the willingness. This is your reminder. There's no power in perfection. There's only power in posture. So rise early, speak early, build early, obey early. The world will catch up to your obedience, but your wealth doesn't need to wait. Let me ask you, what's the one instruction you've been avoiding? What have you delayed, doubted, disguised as patience? Today, write it down and obey it. Not perfectly, just faithfully. You'll be shocked at what rushes in once you do. And if this message, let's talk about something few understand, something that's not taught in manifestation books or casual conversations about success. Obedience is not submission. Obedience is sovereignty. Because when you obey divine law, you are not giving your power away. You are stepping into it. You are saying, I trust the source that gave me this vision. I believe the instructions were divine, not random. I move not because I'm desperate, but because I am instructed. That's where real wealth begins. Not with another visualization, not with another affirmation, but with divine response. And that response only flows when the soul says, yes, I will do what I heard, even if it scares me, even if it doesn't make sense yet. There's a reason the greatest breakthroughs in spiritual history came to those who obeyed before sunrise. The call came at dawn. The answer had to be immediate, because when the command comes in the early hour, You are given a window, a portal, a rare energetic moment where resistance is lowest and spirit is strongest. And those who move in that window, they walk into favour others must fight for. There are some doors that only open early. There are some winds that only carry those who rise before the crowd. There is some clarity that only whispers when the world is still asleep. You want divine wealth? Wake up to divine rhythm. Say this aloud, not as a chant, but as a command to your spirit. I no longer wait for the world's timing. I follow divine timing. I rise when spirit says rise. I act when spirit says act. I obey, before doubt has time to argue. This is the vibration of those who carry quiet wealth. Not just money, but peace. Not just prosperity, but divine proximity. You are no longer the person who needs permission. You are no longer the person who overthinks the divine. You are now a person who responds. And in that response, there is power. There is provision. There is presence. Now let me give you something to anchor this into your week. Before the sun rises tomorrow, before you check your phone, before you open your apps, sit in stillness, even for 1 minute, and ask, what is my instruction for today? And when it comes, move. Don't question it. Don't analyze it. Just act, because that moment, you've heard it before. To whom much is given, much is required. But the part they never told you is that what is required usually shows up in the form of an early instruction, an invitation to rise before comfort wants you to, a whisper that asks for courage before clarity arrives, a choice to follow the invisible before the visible appears. Because heaven doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards alignment, not just alignment of beliefs, but of behaviour. Your greatest wealth will not be unlocked by what you know. It will be unlocked by what you do with what you know, in the moment you're called to do it. And here's what no one tells you. The universe doesn't just test your faith. It watches your reflex, not do they trust, but do they move as soon as they trust? That is the rhythm of wealth, quickened obedience, early surrender, sacred response. So many people miss their wealth window because they waited for motivation instead of instruction. They waited for proof instead of prompting. They waited for applause instead of alignment. But you're not going to miss it, because by now you've realized obedience is the password. It is the key that unlocks the invisible vaults of provision, favor, and strategy that the world will never see. You obey, and doors open that others must knock on for years. You obey, and the timing shifts in your favor before the spreadsheet ever catches up. You obey, and heaven begins moving people, resources, and ideas toward your path while you sleep. Obedience at dawn is not about waking up early. It's about moving while your spirit is still in sync with Source, before the ego wakes up, before fear makes its case, before you scroll into noise. This is your final invitation, not from me, but from the wealth that's been circling your field, waiting for the gate to open. Say this: I open the gate now, through my obedience, through my surrender, through my yes. That yes echoes beyond today. It echoes through your business decisions, through your voice, through the way you price your value, through the way you show up in rooms you used to feel too small for. You no longer seek safety, you seek instruction, and you obey it, early, fully, joyfully. That's why wealth trusts you now. That's why your season has changed. You don't chase, you don't convince, you don't strive, you rise early, you say yes, quickly, you obey, completely. And all of heaven recognizes that rhythm. That's why favor will find you when you least expect it, but most deserve it. Now, breathe this in. Your new reality doesn't start tomorrow. It begins now. Because you didn't just hear a message today, you activated a movement, You became the one who wealth can depend on. Obedience has opened the gates, and now everything changes. If this teaching anchored something deep within you, subscribe now and stay with us on this path of wealth, wisdom, and divine realignment. In the comments, declare it boldly. I obey early. Wealth trusts me now, because that is not just a statement, it's a spiritual contract, and heaven always honors its contracts.